Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Thanks for joining us. I hope you guys had a great morning session and a good break and you're ready to get started. Again, keep your chat open, keep watching for any information there. And be sure to join the Nearpod. It looks like we have like 35 in this meeting right now and only 18 in the Nearpod. So please make sure to follow those links and open that in a separate window. So congratulations, we've made it through all of the 8 content areas. This is the last one, physical education. It's been really fun for me to plan this. I've learned some things I didn't know, and I hope to be able to share that with you guys. And I had to include this cute picture of my kiddos from when I was teaching. They just came up with this all on their own, and I thought it was adorable, so I snapped a pic. Anyway, miss interacting with them every day. So in case you didn't know, you might be sick of hearing it from me, but I'm Jessica Smith. I'm a preschool specialist at USBE. I've been with the agency for 3 years, and it's been an adventure for sure, building preschool in the state. And I hope you guys have felt a change in the last couple of years of more of a preschool community and more involvement and support. We're definitely not where we want to be yet, but we've made some great gains. Just some housekeeping real quick. So please keep your webcam on if possible, and especially when you're speaking, so we can have that body language. It really helps. Make sure that you're eliminating distractions, paying attention to the content today, so you can get the most out of it. Make sure you're muted at all times unless you're invited to speak and share. And because these meetings can tend to get a little large, we ask that you include your questions and comments in the chat, and then we can always ask for more clarification if needed. And Jamie and Jared will be working on the chat to answer your questions if I don't see them. So be aware of that. So breakout rooms, please rename yourself with the number that you got from this morning's session. If you've forgotten, Jared will add that list to the chat so you can remember which group for your planning team at the last 30 minutes of the day. We'll have you in random groups so you can continue to get to know each other and get to know some other people in the preschool space throughout the state for the majority of the session. And then those team breakout groups will be the last, again, 30 minutes of the session to plan. So look for that. So we're going to send you into those breakout rooms first thing. So just do a quick introduction, your name, what's your preschool program, where you work. And then I want you to think about what was your favorite recess or PE activity. I remember playing with the parachute was my absolute favorite when we got to do that in PE. I also love jump rope or the tetherball, tire swing, all those good things. So feel free to share, and we'll just give you guys 5 to 7 minutes to do that, and then we'll bring you back. So I hope you guys got to have a little bit of fun reminiscing about simpler times when we just cared about the playground, and it was great. So today's objectives, we want to review the new physical education standards, have a better understanding of the importance of physical activity for children, commit to developmentally appropriate physical education instruction for our students, and to begin the design of content of your training. And I need to reshare my screen. Just remember. Okay. Alrighty. So, and I kind of said this before, but it was really fun for me to be able to dig deep into physical education. I don't know about you guys, but I have had a lot of time to do that. Prior to my job here at USBE, I taught for 5.5 years. I had a little bit of like a mentor coach position, but as far as knowing as much as I know now, I didn't. So I wanted to take this perspective of kind of what my experience was in the classroom and what I could have benefited from knowing. And that's kind of what's guided me today. So some of you who've been coaches for a long time might be like, yeah, Jess, we do that all the time. But I wanted to offer it as a reminder as we move through and kind of just from my perspective. So the first thing I wanted to do is do a pre-assessment and don't freak out or anything, just to kind of get a baseline on where are we in the state when it comes to these physical education standards. So I'm not going to be tracking who responded what. Also, the options that I give you may not be perfect, but again, were the things that I came up with today. So just select the response that best fits your program. We're just trying to get the gist of what is occurring. So the first question is here. So just answer this first. These first two are kind of more personal. So did you have a positive experience in PE during your education? Right. If I hit share, it stops it, right, Jared?
I don't think so on this one. I think if you hit share, I could be
still
wrong, but I think it's yeah, I think it's okay.
Okay. Perfect. So you guys should be able to see that on your screens. So it looks like we have 50% had a positive experience, 17.6% kind of had a neutral experience, and almost 9% did not have a good experience. Let's go on to the next one. Okay, so just as your adult self, do you enjoy physical activity? Yes, no, some. Okay, so it looks like we have around 40% are saying yes, 50%, sorry, 30%, almost 32% enjoy some physical activity, and 3% said no. So the reason I wanted to ask you these first two questions is that as I was reading about what appropriate physical activity and physical instruction should look, physical education instruction should look like, and as I reflected on my personal physical education career, I could see some poor practices that were done, which didn't leave me feeling having the most enjoyment in physical education. So I wanted you to have the chance to answer these questions and to reflect on, are your personal experiences that you've had in physical education or with physical activity, are those maybe keeping you from implementing it with your preschool students? So as we go through, we're going to talk about really the purpose of physical education is to introduce our students to physical activity and to help them find a way that they enjoy to be physically active. So keep that in mind as we move forward. So the next couple questions here are more on the PE standards in your program. So how are the PE standards being prioritized in your program right now? And you can read those options there. I'm going to stop sharing for just 1 second and reshare. Okay, so looks like here 60% are saying that you prioritize them some. You address them, but not to the extent that you do the other content areas. They're kind of that afterthought. 5% said, yes, we discuss them and help professional development, do the focus on them. And then 11% said, no, we tend not to focus on them as much as we do the other content areas. Okay, let's go. I'll share that real quick. Sorry. Ooh, to see. Okay. On to the next one. Okay. So which statement below best represents your program's staff involvement in physical education instruction? So I want you, most of you are district leadership or lead teachers, have that chance to be creating this PD for your staff. So I want you to think about, what do you typically see in classrooms right now with those teachers and their implementation? Not what you want to happen or what you work to have happen, but what you think is actually happening in those classrooms. Okay, so you can see here that about 47% the staff are occasionally doing it. 13, almost 14% say, we're focusing on other content areas. It's rare to see PE on a lesson plan, and our staff really are engaging with students at recess time. And then that ideal one of staff are intentional, we're about 14% as well. So I'm grateful to see that, we're doing it. The majority of us are doing it, but we can do some improvements. So thank you for doing that today. So we're going to take some time now to dig into the physical education standards. So on the next slide, it will lead you to the physical education document. If you go to page 78 of the PDF, that's where you can see the vertical alignment of both the 3-year-old and 4-year-old standards. So that might be the best place for you to review. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to read through the document. And then I want you to just see what you notice and be prepared to report that on the next slide. We're going to have a Collaborate board that you can type in some of the things that you saw while you were doing that. So I will move on to that document. Again, 78 is where you can kind of see that vertical alignment. You may want to read the introduction and just be prepared to report out on what you noticed.
Jess, as you just pulled this up, I want you all to know, out of all the graphics in this book, this one right here is my favorite.
The good old hippo doing yoga. It's pretty great. Okay, so I will set a timer for 5 minutes and we'll be back. Okay, I'm going to move on to our Collaborate board. So feel free to share here. What you noticed while reviewing the standards. Okay. Kids should be enjoying the activities. I love the one saying, a lot of opportunities to integrate. Mixing PE with the themes is really easy. Participate, practice, and then demonstrate. Being active helps in others' areas and helps children to learn better. Yeah, the 3-year-olds are more about just participating, kind of that exposure. Let's get you into this new world. And then with the 4s, we're more perfecting it. Yeah, that physical exercise can help the reduction of absences, which is really cool. And yeah, that it can provide confidence is awesome. Yeah, I love that. Being active throughout the whole day. They really are really easy to incorporate, and you can have that movement going on. Okay, thank you guys so much for your participation. So the next one, we're going to go into the strategies and activities. So if you don't know by now, I'm sure you do, because we're on the last one. But we also have the strategies and activities documents to support the standards. They're found on UEN. So we'll give you 5 more minutes to review these. Again, be prepared to share out what you noticed on a Collaborate board. Okay, we will move on to the Collaborate board. So feel free to enter your thoughts here on what you noticed through the strategies and activities document. I love these, that the activities are developmentally appropriate for children. I hope so. We worked really hard on that. Again, all the mediums that were included for fine motor, all the different things you can use. How fun the activities can be to help them build their physical development and knowledge. Love the emojis, well done. A lot of encouragement for independence. The fine arts can definitely be incorporated into physical education. Yeah, I love that. I was gonna point out, in this presentation, I didn't cover a whole lot on fine motor. I feel like fine motor is occurring more regularly in our classrooms. That's a real big focus. And when you also covered fine arts this morning, which I feel like hit on that quite a bit. There's a lot of overlap there. So we will be focusing more on the gross motor aspect, but yeah, be sure to make sure that you're hitting those. I love that exposure. Lots of kids don't always get exposed to the things that they need to learn in this area. And the block area is a great place too. I love that, the thought of indoor. Great job. I realized I forgot to say on the standards, one of the things that I noticed is there's only 9 standards, which is really doable. And so keeping that in mind, that you can really easily hit those over and over for that repetitive practice so that they can excel in that area. Awesome, thank you for participating. Okay, so we're gonna move on. So we're gonna discuss the difference between physical education and physical activity. Does anybody want to unmute and take a guess, or you can feel free to enter in the chat?
Masks, Jake, will you look in my...
Jennifer, were you going to comment, or are you just accidentally unmuted?
Yeah, I'm not going to roll it up.
We'll mute her. First, as an accident. Anybody want to unmute and guess, or put an I guess in? I like Monica's answer. Education is why we do it. Activity is actually doing it. Any other ideas?
So here's a guess. I would guess that the physical activity is just the stuff that kind of happens naturally when the kids are at recess, or if you're doing like a movement song in class. But physical education to me seems more like, okay, we are going to see if we can bounce a ball 10 times, or we are going to do this particular obstacle course, or something that's maybe a little more teacher directed.
Perfect. I love it. So you're right on it. So physical education is academic, more skill-based class, and physical activity provides the opportunities to apply the skills that you've learned in physical education. And physical activity can be anything, like you know, it can be running, walking, yoga, anything. So students need both physical education and physical activity to learn and apply skills. Without both, students miss the opportunity to learn or practice these skills. So keep that in mind when lesson planning, or when educating your staff on lesson planning. Are they fitting in time to do that education portion, but also time to do that physical activity? So with recess, where do you think recess would usually fall? Physical education or physical activity?
Physical activity?
Yeah, so it can be both, but the main thing is you have to remember that recess is a break. So you could be doing some physical education, but that should definitely be a choice during that time. So if the students want to come play a ball with you and work on those skills, awesome. But we're not taking them away from that free time for them to engage in whatever physical activity they want to be engaging in. Okay, there's a handout in the shared participant folder. Jamie, if you'll share that link, that would be great. So it's really great to kind of outline the difference between the two. So physical education is taught by a certified teacher. We don't have teachers certified in PE often in preschool, but you guys are certified teachers who know the standards. Lessons are based on standards. And then there's a sequential activities that are designed to meet outcomes. So we have a goal in mind. Physical activity is led or supervised by any adult. It can be structured or unstructured, and it may include any type of movement. And both physical education and physical activity help the brain to decrease stress, increase academic performance, and with the body, help the body to improve fitness level and prevent injury and disease. So some of you caught this in the introduction to the physical education standards. So research tells us that children who are physically active for 60 minutes a day and the days within the 24-hour period are healthier, have higher self-confidence, learn more effectively, and are less likely to be absent. And I think we want that for all of our students. So making sure that we're doing what we can to give them and contribute to that 60 minutes a day. Okay, so this next slide, as I was doing some research, a lot of these kind of include what we just mentioned, but these are the benefits of physical activity that I came across. So I want you to take a few minutes to review this slide, and does anything surprise you? And feel free to enter it in the chat or again, unmute and share with the group. I will share one for me. I was not surprised to see that it reduces the symptoms of anxiety and depression. I was a little surprised to see that it reduces the risk of depression, that we can hopefully prevent that in our students from occurring. Same for the risk of chronic illnesses and improve self-image. I really like that one. And it can help them prepare to be productive and healthy members of society. That's something else that was hit multiple times. Is like we are, I know we've thought for a long time, and I hear very frequently us say, we're the first taste of education that these students get. So let's have it be a really positive experience. Physical activity and physical health are huge and are going to follow our students through their lives. We can be that first taste of a healthy relationship with physical activity, that they don't have to dread it, that it can be something that they enjoy. There will be some aspects of physical activity, maybe they hate soccer, but we can find something else they will love and can have that positive experience. I love that comment from Jessica. I like that physical education hits the whole child, mentally, socially, physically, etc. And again, because physical activity can have such a positive effect on your overall health, that means you'll be available to be a productive member of society. So as you look through this list, I'm sure you want all of these things to occur to your preschool students. So that's why it's so important for us to be really intentional in how we're presenting physical activity and physical education to our students. Again, getting them started on the right foot. Okay, so if you were able to attend UAOIC last year, Ray Pica was the keynote, and she shared this slide of movement feeds the brain. And you can see and compare the brain images from when you're sitting quietly to after you've done just a 20-minute walk. And so I don't know about you guys, but I've experienced this for sure in this pandemic. When I am sitting in this room for 8 hours a day, I was a teacher. I was up moving with kids and playing. I was never meant to be in one room in one chair 8 hours a day, day after day. So it's been a really hard transition. And I have noticed in myself that when I hit a brick wall, if I go out and take a walk, that I can be better and come back and able to focus more. And I think back on my teaching experience, and was this my go-to with my kiddos? Like if we're having a hard day, if their brain is not in a great space for learning, did I even consider, let's go for a walk, or let's go pass a ball back and forth for a second to activate that brain and then come back and try to address the task. So this is something that to me is, it's a tool in our toolbox. And I know that as an educator prior to this position, it wasn't something that was at the forefront of my mind to grab and utilize. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. And I think I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way of when you get up and take a walk and come back to whatever task you're working on, that you feel a little better. And I think a lot of times we expect more from our younger students who are still learning to understand and how to care for their body and to control their body. But we kind of don't let them have those opportunities and might keep them in the chair and ask more of them. So just another thing to kind of bring to your attention and to share with your staff of this is awesome. You can essentially turn on the brain by just doing a little bit of physical activity, and how much more receptive will those kids be to that content you're trying to teach. So this slide right here, we're going to do some guesses on some percentages here. So this was based on kindergartners or the early childhood grades. So what percentage of students do you think do not get enough physical activity daily? What percentage of kindergartners are overweight or obese? And what percentage do you feel like have an excessive amount of screen time? So on the next slide, you'll have 6 cards to match up. So engage with that for a little bit, and then we'll go to the answers. And you can keep trying if you get it wrong. So keep matching them up. Okay, looks like the majority of you have done this. So here's our correct numbers. 76% of our kids are not getting enough physical activity. 20% of our kindergartners are overweight or obese, and 66% have an excess amount of screen time. So we know that it's a problem. So what can we be doing in our classrooms to help these numbers go down? Okay. We're now going to have a 10-minute break, and then we'll come back at 1:55. So I'm going to encourage you to have some physical activity and stand up and go outside. It's a beautiful day. So go outside, enjoy some sun, and then come back at 1:55.
And if you have not done so yet, if you are with other people in your group that you would like to plan together with, please go and change your name in Zoom to put the number that corresponds with your organization in front of your name to help later on. We really appreciate it. If you're on your own, or if you're in the same physical location as other people to plan, go ahead and don't worry about putting a number in front of your name. This is just for grouping for the planning later on.
Okay. So one of the resources that I met with our health specialist, her name is Jody Parker, and I'll give you guys her contact info at the end if you want to call her with any questions or email her. One of the sites that she recommended I go to was Shape America. And so I had to hunt a little bit to find some stuff for preschoolers, but they had a lot of great resources there. So these are the guidelines for preschoolers. So I'm going to read through them, and I want you to just listen. You can read through them yourself. I'll kind of summarize them. And again, feel free to chat or unmute and share any insights that you have when looking through this. So the first one, again, that preschoolers should accumulate at least 60 minutes of structured physical activity per day. The second, that preschoolers should engage in at least 60 minutes and up to several hours of unstructured physical activity per day, and should not be sedentary for more than 60 minutes at a time, except when sleeping. Third one, preschoolers should develop competence in fundamental movement and motor skills that will serve as the building blocks for more advanced physical activity. 4, whenever possible, caregivers should provide preschoolers with indoor and outdoor areas that meet or exceed recommended safety standards for performing large muscle activities. And they did have a place-based assessment that will be shared in the slides later if you want to review that. And then those in charge of preschoolers' health and well-being are responsible for understanding the importance of physical activity and promoting movement skills by providing opportunities for structured and unstructured physical activity. So did any new thoughts come to mind when reviewing those? So one that I thought of, okay, let's see, Tammy, the preschool day is so short, parents need to help supply the rest of the time. Absolutely. There's no way that we can do all of it for sure. So giving those families some great ideas on how to do it. I loved the one in point 2 where it says that they should not be sedentary for more than 60 minutes at a time. So our preschool classes run like, I think 2.5 hours to 3, some are full day. So have you looked at your schedule and are you giving them a physical break every 60 minutes? Again, that doesn't have to be a recess, but are we giving them, you know, a gross motor song at circle or just getting a chance to get our wiggles out? So that was something that really struck me that as a teacher, I should be going back and reviewing that at least every 60 minutes, they're getting a break. My other thought with guideline 3 is that it pairs really well with our standards, that we're really just talking about those basic movements and getting them set up for success later on. Yeah, I think so too. Chelsea shared, it's important to educate families on this. Many do not realize how important it is. And it's so true. At the end, I'll be giving you guys a list of activities that you can share with teachers and staff, but you can also share them with parents. Some great resources on how to be active at home. Yeah, not all kids are getting movement time at home. Recess time is critical. I watched one video that said that a lot of schools have just taken it out. We're not even giving them the opportunity for recess anymore, which is not great. Again, it's such a great tool to turn on and activate that brain. So are we utilizing it? Thank you guys for commenting in the chat. Okay, so we're going to send you to breakout rooms again. And I want you guys to just think of the question, what skills do children naturally learn and practice during physical activity? So kind of think of recess. What learning do you see happening that's like naturally taking place? So we'll give you 5 to 7 minutes to jump in your breakout room and talk. Assign a scribe, so not everybody needs to fill out the Nearpod. One can do that. I believe you guys should have sharing access within the breakout room. So if whoever's typing wants to share their Nearpod screen, feel free. But Jared, if you want to turn on the breakout rooms and we'll let you guys discuss this for a little bit. Okay, it looks like you guys are all back. I'm going to share my screen one more time. Hold this up. Okay. So let's just look at some of these answers that we've had. So they naturally learn balance, social skills, climbing, how to start and stop their bodies. It's a place where recess is a place where they get to learn and interact with each other. And they get to learn some physics with science. There's another one. Social cooperation, problem solving. Providing some structure for kids who don't know how to engage is important. Teaching them how to utilize that equipment. Staff can feel like they need a break and want the kids to go play, but sometimes kids need an adult to not model how to play physically. And I'm going to say a lot of the time they need that. Because there's a lot of different equipment on that playground and there might be things that they've never played with before. Personal boundaries, balance, turn-taking, cooperative play, initiative to participate. Sharing, taking turns, running, boundaries, body movement, self-regulation, communication with peers. Awesome. I shared in our, there's a couple more, hold on. Running, jumping, skills on the different playground equipment, the swings, how to balance and the physical movement and coordination to swing, turn taking, curiosity, team building, throwing balls, problem solving during this type of play and other type of play too, social skills, creativity with things as they play. Love doing that in the sandbox, watching them, come up with a restaurant or whatever they're working on. Awesome. yeah, trikes. I'm sure tricycles are quite the skill to learn for some of our little friends. Awesome. Thank you guys for participating in that. One of the things I wanted to share is why it's so important. We know that there's lots of reasons why it's so important for staff to be present and interacting with the kiddos. But one experience that I had was with those social emotional skills, and I shared with my group, but I had a little student who had it was a sweet little girl who had autism and had a pretty low IQ. When she would get excited, she would squeal really, really loud. And she also kind of had this little growling noise. And it was so endearing. But there was one point where we were at recess and she made this growl and one of her peers walked away. And I said, hey, she wants to play with you. And he's like, well, he was scared because of her growling. And so I had the opportunity to say, she's not scary. She's just excited and she wants to play with you. And teaching him that's how she shows that she's excited. There's nothing to be scared about. And within the next week, I saw him initiating play with her multiple times. And so it was so great to be there and be present so that I could facilitate that friendship, that peer engagement. And so it's just so critical. And I've said this in other trainings, we have such a short amount of time with them during the week for that instruction time. We have to make sure that every second counts. So making sure that your staff are engaged is really important. Okay, so moving on. A well-designed physical education program will meet the needs of all students, keep students active for most of the physical education class time. So again, trying to avoid that wait time of if you're waiting for equipment, you're not being active. Teaching self-management, emphasize knowledge and skills for a lifetime of physical activity, and as an enjoyable experience for all students. So again, the ultimate goal is to have to find some activity, some physical activity that they can do for a lifetime and to encourage that lifelong health. So I loved this aspect. We collaborate with other agencies, and Casey Hutton, who is with the Office of Child Care, created a physical education professional development as well. And I love this inclusion of all children section. So, and the article will be in the slides later on for you in the slide notes if you want to utilize it when developing your PD. But this statement here, inclusion in physical education honors all kinds of student diversity, not just disability, as an opportunity for learning about how everyone can become physically active through a variety of movement and fitness activities. And on the next slide here, in this article, it said what feelings are occurring for students. So when they're excluded, they feel different, angry, isolated, lonely, frustrated, inferior, ashamed, untrusted, invisible, unwanted. When they're included, they feel liked, confident, excited, special, proud, secure, happy, accepted, trusted, and normal. And I don't know about you guys, but I just kept thinking about my PE experience in junior high and running that dang mile. I hated it so bad. And I remember we ran it in the grass, which I think is just cruel. Like wet grass. I feel like that was just so much harder. I remember having like the hardest like chest pains. It was just bad. And being one of the last ones to complete it. I did not enjoy that. And so I think keeping in mind that with our students, you better not be having them run a mile because that's not developmentally appropriate. But when we have them do any activity, just paying attention to their body types and how they're doing in those skills and not forcing them to do something that they don't enjoy. That's why we can provide them with all those different options. And, you know, I think it's great to talk about that of our bodies are built differently and some bodies can run really well. Some bodies can do and can stretch really well and do yoga or this or that. So I just loved this portion that I hadn't really considered before when it came to physical education. So planning for inclusion. So if we're going to do this and have this great physical education, surprise, we have to be intentional and plan for it. So what individual student traits constitute personal advantages or disadvantages? So think about a certain activity, what kids are going to do really well at this, what kids are going to struggle. How should they be taken into account when planning a unit of physical education instruction? It's great to give them that opportunity to try that skill, but if it's difficult, maybe we have another option for them. And then this second bullet again, the physical educator must consider student age, developmentally appropriate activities, equipment, developmental task analysis with task variations, functional tasks, activity choices, and modification or manipulation of the environment to ensure student success. And I love this too, because it, when I first saw inclusion, I went to students with disabilities. I was not a student with a disability, but I was diverse and my body didn't function the way that everyone else's functioned. So just taking that notion of inclusion when it comes to physical education and spreading it out to all of our kids are diverse and what are their needs and how can we, again, provide them a positive experience when it comes to physical education. Okay, so like I said prior to this, I got to learn quite a few things while I was doing this. And these are some of the bad habits that I have seen in my physical education career, and some new ones that I didn't know about. So using physical activity as a punishment. This would be like, go run a lap, do 5 push-ups, those type of things. That's not positive. That doesn't help facilitate that positive relationship with physical activity. I don't think this is super common in our preschool programs, but keep an eye on it and make sure that it doesn't start occurring. Also, removing physical activity as a punishment. So I think it's common practice for some teachers to remove that recess time if you're not behaving the way that you need to be. And again, if that child is struggling to attend, that physical activity opportunity can turn that brain on and activate it so that they're more able to focus on the instruction. So we should not be removing it. Again, that time spent waiting for equipment, keep that in mind. We have 15, 20 minutes for recess. Are those kids staying active for the majority of that time? Because we might have that time set aside, but they might, when you really look at it, only being active for 5 or 10 minutes and not the time that they need. So this one I was guilty of, and I didn't think about it until I was preparing this. So using recess time for instruction or tasks. I taught in a classroom that was half special ed students and half reg ed students. It was really busy. And so I often, if I couldn't fit in some time to pull data for kids, I would send the group off for recess. And then I would have this nice quiet classroom to work on data with a student. And reading all this stuff made me a little sick to my stomach. Here I have a student with special needs that is already struggling in instruction, and I'm taking away this physical activity time that could help, again, activate that brain and put them in a better position for learning. I'm not going to tell you never to do it because I don't know what it looks like in every classroom, but I would be extremely hesitant to pull that time and to try and find other times in the day when you can do that data instruction or that data pulling for data. Other things you might do is like having a student being a snack helper, and maybe they come in 5 minutes early from recess to help set up snack. Again, not going to tell you not to do it, but like just consider that of what things do we have in place that are taking away from that physical education or activity time. And this last one was kind of new to me, that we should, the bad habit of providing or encouraging competitive games or any competition. So in talking with our health specialist, she said it's not developmentally appropriate until those later middle school grades of that competition. So you see this at elementary schools all the time. And I had a little student that would read the sports section with his grandpa every morning, and he loved basketball and he loved soccer. And a lot of times he would come in and at recess, he would initiate that. And, he's like, oh, I made a goal, or I did this, and kind of create the competition on his own without any assistance from me. So that's something that you should just consider, is that, again, we don't want to start them off with, I'm not good at something, as their first taste at this physical activity. So on this next slide, I'm going to give you 5 minutes in breakout rooms again. And this is something, again, as I was reading, I don't have all the answers. And that was kind of a new thing for me. So as you have these students that, maybe come on and they kind of create that competition on their own, how can you redirect these students when they engage in these competitive games and activities during physical activity? How can you shift that activity or that game to not be as competitive? So I just wanted you guys to brainstorm, and feel free, when we come back, we're going to have some share out. So I'm not going to have anything for you to complete in your pod. Just be prepared to have a spokesperson maybe to come back and share with the group. So we'll give you 4 to 5 minutes in these breakout rooms and have fun discussing.
Okay, it looks like everybody should be back from the breakout rooms now. I'll go ahead and spin my random number generator thing to decide which group gets to share out first, and the winner is group 3, which is Tracy, Jennifer, Wendy, and Jessica. So who was your spokesperson from group 3?
It was me. Okay, so what we really talked about was when we're describing what they're doing in the physical activity, to not say things like you made a goal or you made a score or you made a basket, but just tell them, oh my gosh, you got the basketball in the hoop. And then we're not encouraging those competition type words. Another thing was getting the kids that are really good at a skill to help the others who aren't really good at the skill. So instead of this student wanting to beat this other student, he's now helping this, his friend, and like the competition part of it kind of just disappears, because now they're being a teacher and they're helping. And all the competitiveness is kind of just forgotten because they're doing something more important, I guess.
Yeah, kids like cooperation, and so if you can help develop that, so they're cooperating and building each other instead of like trying to beat each other, that's always good. And then I really liked what you were saying before about like commenting on you made the basket. It's interesting because then it becomes the competition with themselves. It's like I can do better, I can run faster. So great, thanks for sharing out. Okay, the next group, can we have somebody from group 8? So we have Tammy, Sabrina, Marie, and Michelle. Who's your spokesperson?
Okay, I'm the spokesperson. So we talked about the same thing, kind of having them be a teacher to help them with it. But we also, I shared an example of my husband who teaches 5th grade. And when they play soccer, he splits it up so there's even abilities, boys and girls. And if a girl gets a goal, then it's 2 points. And if a boy, it's 1. And so it encourages the boys to pass to the girls, and it becomes more of a team sport than just all the boys, leaving all the girls out. And then we kind of talked about jokingly about kind of Monsters Inc., how everyone had to finish the goal together, or get, and so kind of creating that teamwork. So maybe someone is better, but they have to kind of work together to finish the goal.
Yeah, it's always kind of tricky when you're trying to pair people up or you distribute teams based on ability level, because I was like one of the kids when I was like in 2nd grade, the last kids chosen, which is always kind of hard. But I love the being creative as far as like, okay, how can we change the way the game is played, or how can we change things to help encourage more cooperation? So great ideas. Okay, do we have time for one more, Jessica? Okay, let's see. Let's go group 1. We have Karina, Tori, Jana, and Jamie.
Okay, so I'm gonna speak for our group, and Karina, right? I don't want to say that name wrong, but she said a good comment at the end that teaching our kids to be happy for each other and to celebrate each other's successes out there. When someone makes a basket, like, let's be happy for them, and turning our focus into being a team and working together. And I love that. And some things in my classroom that reminded me of is when somebody does something and we all cheer for them, like the child with the behavior issue that was able to sit at their spot, and they're so proud of themselves, and we're all happy for them. And we can do that in that gross motor way too, without getting into competitions at this age.
Wonderful. So kind of building a shared goal, a shared responsibility among the classroom. And so, the winning is, if the whole group is able to do it, or, people within the group are able to do it, rather than I can do it better than you. So great idea. Okay, thanks. Thanks for sharing out, everybody.
You're welcome.
Awesome. I love hearing your guys' ideas because it's just great to get the whole group together and all of our experience and things that we can come up with. So the next one is just a collaborate board. So I just wanted you to take some time to think of any games that you can think of that are not competitive that you can play with the kids, that we can share. And one other thing to keep in mind is games where the kids are never out is also a really good thing. So they're always constantly in motion. I'm trying to look at my notes real quick. When I met with the physical education specialist about these type of activities. Let's see. So one I've played with my kids, it's probably not the best example, but we have used the parachute, and all the kids sit on the floor in a circle, and then we shake the parachute like it's waves, and then one kid at a time gets to be the shark and gets to go into the parachute and grab a kid's legs, and then they trade. So that way the kids are always moving because they're always moving their arms up and down for the waves, and then they can take turns of being the shark and grabbing their friends. I remember playing that in in elementary and like that too. There was one she talked about, I can't find my notes right now, but she talked about like a tag game, but then you have hula hoops on the ground. And when they're standing in a hula hoop, that's like a break, but only one kid can stand in the hula hoop at a time. So they're running around playing tag. And if they need a break and there's someone in the hula hoop, they have to have that conversation of, I need a break, it's your turn to get out and go. So that kind of facilitates that conversation and kind of allows for those abilities of some kids like to run more than others. I love these. Throwing balls in a triangle, taking turns, freeze dancing. Red light, green light, jump rope, hopscotch. Awesome. Racing, but no winners, just the teacher is the slowest. They all beat the teacher together. I love that. Bean bags. Perfect. Awesome, guys. I love that. Thanks so much for sharing. Okay, this is our last activity. We're running out of time here pretty quick. I might skip this so that we can give you guys planning time, because we're going to 3 right now, 3:30. No, we are going to 3:30, so I still have a little bit. Are we going to 3? 3:30.
Sorry, 3:30.
That's it. Okay, we'll do this.
I was trying to find my unmute button too. I was like, where?
I had a brain fart for a second. Okay, awesome. So this is just another great resource I found on Shape America. And so you can see that it has appropriate practice and inappropriate practice for elementary, for middle school, and high school. So we're just going to be looking at that far left, those far 2 left columns for inappropriate and appropriate practice. So we're going to put you in your breakout rooms again, and you're going to have this sheet. And Jared will share what the assignments are in just a second. So you'll just be assigned one section. So either pages 3 through 5 or 6 through 8, 9 through 11. And I just want you to go through with your group and identify some things you've learned. Some things are not going to apply. It's elementary, so some of those things might be older, but some of those things will kind of pique your interest a little bit. I mean, oh, this could kind of apply in preschool, and I want you to list it there. So some of those things are like examples of what not to do that might be common practice that we see right now, things we should stop doing, examples on how to diversify for our students based on their diverse abilities. So we're going to give you like 7 to 10 minutes to look through these documents and talk with a group. When you get put in to this Google Doc on the next slide, your group just needs to pick one line to respond. We just had the multiple lines for different groups. So just pick a line where another group is not typing and feel free to type. So Jared, do you want to share what the assignments are?
Okay, so I hope I didn't mess this up by doing this, but I went in to that page and I put in, so for instance, section 1.0 to 1.3.4, pages 3 through 5, I have groups 1 and 2, and I have that distributed. There's 2 groups in the first 3 sections and just 1 group in the last 3. Will that work to do it that way?
That is beautiful. So
okay.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll let you guys go in and just feel free to review those couple pages. There's also this section of standards on the side if that's easier to help you navigate. And just, again, identify those things that you make you think or you think are good to take notes on.
And then just put your notes, whatever you decide, whatever you find or discuss, into the box that has your group name in it. So
perfect.
All right, ready and go.
Welcome back. Let's have an opportunity for some of you to share. Does anyone want to share some of the great finds that their group had?
When I was looking at that side-by-side comparison, I appreciated that as far as ours, we were just doing the very first portion of it. Anyway, I appreciated that it was a very specific on what not to do kind of thing, and gave good examples of what to do or how to create a positive experience and those kinds of things. But I appreciated that it was very specific. Do not do this. Kind of thing. So
yeah, I just thought about, we give non-example to our preschool student all the time, and I need non-examples too. So I love that. Any good discoveries that you guys found that you might not have thought about before, or think it's good to mention, something you're going to mention with your staff?
One of the things we talked about was that it's very easy to call our students like boys and girls or guys to get their attention, and that is actually something it specifically said not to do. So instead, like, I learned this from my sister, is she used to teach kindergarten, and so she would always call her students kindergartners instead of boys and girls or guys, whatever. So I've always done that too, just from following her example, is that I just say preschoolers. And now that she teaches 5th grade, she still does it. She just says, okay, 5th graders, and then it's gender neutral, but it still gets everyone's attention. So
I like that. I call my preschoolers, okay, friends. And that they recognize that as, oh, I'm my teacher's friend. That's awesome, right? But then they also recognize that there are all friends together within the group itself as well. So I like that, Wendy.
Can I just share something?
Yeah.
Doing this activity reminded me of a story that I shared in my group, but I totally had forgotten about this. Sometimes we have the best intentions when we're planning these activities, but maybe we don't see the complete outcome until it's all said and done. My husband is a sheriff's deputy, and so one of the elementary schools here invited I'll say the deputies and the officers, because city and county are different. At any rate, so all these cops come to the elementary school, and most of them are in uniform, and they're going to play dodgeball with these kids. Well, some of the boys, they really thought that was awesome, but some of the other students, they were a little scared, so they started to play, and I think the cops were trying to be gentle and kind, but when it all came down to it, some of the students were a little bit scared of the situation, and they kind of cried a little bit and stuff. So I think the intent the intent was really a good thing, but maybe not for all of the students in the situation. It's a funny story when I hear other people tell it, but sometimes you have to look at the whole picture.
Yeah. And learn and make changes moving forward. But
I wanted to share about, there is in there about guided choices. And I thought that that was good for gross motor, for recess, is just allowing them to have that big body play and allowing them to climb up the slide instead of right away implementing rules that maybe aren't appropriate for that class. Sometimes you have a class that is really rowdy and needs lots of parameters, but maybe just having that in mind. I'm going to give them the equipment. We're going to let this happen. Sometimes kids they fall, they get hurt. And then we can guide those choices. Like, you were coming down and she was going up, and what happened. And I think sometimes as teachers, we're afraid. We don't want to see kids get hurt, but that's how we learn, right?
yeah.
And Maggie, just piggybacking on that, it's a great opportunity to also bring in some of the social studies standards with, okay, so now you understand why we have the rules in place for sliding down the slide and climbing up the stairs. Or we can change the rules. We can say, okay, today we're going to climb up the slide, give them that permission within those parameter choices. But it's a great way to help them generate rules and understand the reasons behind the rules.
Right.
So
Create like a democracy. Like, we decided today in our classroom, we're all going up the slide today. So yeah.
And someone did not follow the rules, and look what happened. So yeah, it's a great, fairly safe illustration about how to guide that.
Yeah, and sometimes it feels kind of ugly, right? We don't really like to see kids get hurt, and we don't want to be like, oh, see what happens, but at the same time, physical activity is about, falling and learning. And so
it is our responsibility to make sure that it is a safe, healthy environment for activity. And so, obviously we're not going to let them do things that would result in too much injury, but just through natural play, things do happen. And then as we're looking about, okay, well, what happened? Oh, you were running in different directions. Great opportunities for teaching moments.
Yeah.
Love it. All right, so we're gonna move forward. We're getting close to your planning time. So what does physical education look like in preschool? I just added some reminders here. So it'll likely be integrated throughout the preschool day. When you look at those 9 standards, they're really easy to implement. So I would really encourage you to help your staff understand that you can do these very easily throughout your day. Physical education can be provided during recess time, but you have to keep that student choice aspect intact. Remember, they can be free to climb on the playground equipment and do what they want, but you can have those activities that kind of are more skill focused available. Try to steer clear of activities that have the competition aspect, and then be protective of that recess time. Avoid pulling for data collection, avoid maybe having them do a task, avoid removing recess as a punishment, or introducing any physical activity as a punishment as well. Again, I just wanted to have this slide one more time to remind you that it's an amazing tool that we have, and are we using that tool and pulling that tool out of our toolbox when we see a child is struggling to attend? So moving forward, I would love for our preschool educators across the state to commit to being good models of that good physical activity. Again, to those first 2 questions that I asked you guys on if you had a positive PE experience and if you enjoy physical activity, just take a moment to reflect on if that's showing up in your teaching and the opportunities you're providing to your students. Be intentional in teaching those physical education standards, make a plan. Maybe you have some discussions with your school community and staff of, we've just been sitting on the sidelines and having breaks for the majority of the time. How can we be more engaging? Making sure that it's developmentally appropriate practice, and then helping students find an activity they like to encourage lifelong health. And again, that's going to have to be intentional too. You're going to have to provide a variety of activities for them to find something that they enjoy. So I mentioned that we have some resources for you. I'll throw this on this one, you can kind of look through them, but I'm also going to stop and share a different screen real quick so that I can review them with you. Okay. So we have the cute little yoga cards. If you went to the state preschool workshop last year, those were made available. I can't pull these up because it's sharing and it's so slow. Anyway, these yoga poses are super duper cute, easy to help your kids learn those poses. And they're just for free. How fun is that? And then these ones were some activities that you could do from Shape America. Again, I had these from last year with the state preschool workshop. This one is super cool. We've had this for a while, and I was able to get a printed copy. So when you print it out, it's half sheets of paper and they're bound on the top. And these are just can be used for some brain breaks. There's some really cute activities in here. Some of them might be not age appropriate. One of them, I can't remember what page it's on. I think it's called Dead Bugs. And essentially you have all the kids like run around on the floor like they're bugs on their all fours. And then you say dead bugs, and they all have to get on their backs and put their legs and arms in the air. And then you can have them do it again, which I think would be hilarious. So if one of you wants to do that in your class and send me a video, I would love it.
That sounds amazing.
Right? That sounds so good. So good. So there's just, like when I read through these, there's some great ideas for like indoor recess to keep your kids active. So feel free to look at that one. That's a really good resource. This next one is something that you might want to utilize when you're doing your PD with your staff. So it just lists the standards. This is something that Casey Hutton completed. And so it lists all the standards, and then you can do a self-assessment on, is that happening frequently in my classroom, sometimes, or infrequently? So they can kind of identify their areas of need and their areas of strength. And then let's see what else I got. This is another one of just some activities to do that Casey had put together. And then this activity ideas. So this one, I really love these activity calendars. Something really easy to give to families. So they just have a month. Every month they don't have dates on them. So it's just, you can quickly identify what you could do that week. And there's all these different ideas of what families can do to get moving. And then those are provided in English and Spanish. This one, let me remind myself. So on this one, you're going to want to, there's some for infants and toddlers, which is great to give to families. But then if you come down to this pre-K activities, again, there's some more healthy homes activities that they can do for movement, and those are also available in Spanish. And then this last one from Shape America, if you scroll down to these activity ideas, there's like these 15 ways to get moving, but I really like these moving with pool noodles or paper plates or beach balls, just some fairly inexpensive equipment that you can utilize to get those kids moving. And then the videos on here are really great. The Swat the Fly is essentially you have like a Frisbee or a plate with a fly on it, and you put it on a long string, and then one of the kids gets to hold it and run with it, and the rest of the kids have a pool noodle and they're trying to swat the fly that's behind the kid. There's a video of that, so it's super cute to watch. 15 gross motor at-home activities with painter's tape, another great one for families to do or in the classroom. This next one is a fine motor one on how to use broken crayons. The smaller thing you utilize, the better they can do the grip. And this Punchinella one, it's a great activity. I'm not going to joke. I'm not going to lie to you. The video is kind of scary. So maybe watch it for a second to get the idea. But maybe you feel differently, but I still added it because I did like the idea of it does get kids up and moving. So those are some great activities for you guys to utilize and share with your staff members. Okay. All right, so we're going to do a quick post assessment. just to see if we've made some progress today and if you guys are feeling differently. So did your understanding of the importance of physical education improve today? Look at all that blue. Awesome, we had success. Awesome. Okay, the next one. Do you plan on prioritizing physical education and physical activities or activity more in the future?
Jessica, I'm not able to answer when you show the graph. It won't let me answer anymore. So these last two I wasn't able to answer.
Okay, is that a problem for other people? Yes. Okay,
Yes, it looks like as soon as you hit the share, it like pops people out.
Okay, I'll share it real quick. It looks like we all learned a little something today, which is great. Okay, this last one is a collaborate board. So what changes would you like to implement or see regarding staff and their involvement in physical education with their students? So over today, what is the thing that one of the things or two of the things that you are like, that's my priority when I go back and teach this to staff that I want to stand out to them? I love these. I'm seeing a lot of, I want to see my staff more engaged with the kids. And I do too. It's really a bummer for us when we go out on observations, you know, back when we could do that. And you have these kids that are having a great time, and then the staff are just kind of, they feel like it's that time to tune out. So again, just stressing with your staff that we have to make the most of every second that those kids are in our classrooms and in our midst. And again, maybe helping them to be aware of maybe their biases. Like, I know you don't love physical activity and you may have had a bad experience, but we're helping these kids have just this opportunity to discover and learn more. And I think too, you know, focusing on, there's only 9 standards and it can be integrated. You can do this. Awesome, thanks for sharing, guys. Okay, so now we will begin your planning time. I will throw the Google folder into the chat. Make sure that if you are wanting that USBE credit, that you're grabbing that PD lesson plan template and the PD implementation reflection from that folder to complete in Canvas later on. If you don't want a USBE credit, you can also look at that PD lesson planning template. It may be helpful as you proceed planning. So you don't have to use them, but they're there for you. So we will give you like 20 minutes and then we'll come back and close out. So Jared will open the breakout rooms, and this time you will be with your teams and you can plan together. Any questions before we begin?
And if any of you are not with somebody else in your organization, but want to join with another group to help plan and brainstorm, let me know and I can pair you up in the breakout rooms.
Jared, there's a question in the chat regarding the Canvas stuff. Can you answer that? Do we have a deadline?
Let's see. We need to revisit it. We were going to have it mid-August, similar to the workshop, but yeah, we need to revisit that. So.
Okay.
It's because some people are planning for next fall, and so they're going.
Oh, yeah.
So.
We could do it on a monthly. Okay, looks like everyone is back. I hope that got you at least started on planning your professional development. I'm going to throw the participant folder in the chat one more time. I have uploaded my presentation. If you want any of that, and then the notes, you can see them there. I also uploaded the appropriate and inappropriate practices document in case you wanted to print that off, as well as our completed version with our fines and a blank version if you wanted to have them complete the same activity in your group. So there's lots of good things in there. So feel free to have at it. Just reviewing today's objectives. So we took some time to review the new standards. We have a better understanding of the importance of physical activity for our preschoolers. We're going to commit to developmentally appropriate physical education instruction, and you guys were able to start the design of your content and training. So thank you for spending time with us today. Jamie will add the survey in the chat if you want to give us some feedback on the fine arts and PE presentations today. Like I said, my contact information is there, as well as Jody Parker, who's our health and physical ed specialist, in case you have any questions for her. There is that. Anything else, Jamie and Jared, that we need to discuss?
And then you guys, thank you for sticking with us. Like, it's been a great process. It's been great to get to know you better. And it's been amazing to hear what you guys have been able to implement in your programs and to help your teachers. So just thank you again for all of your support in helping the implementation of these standards go well for your programs and your teachers and the students.
And for sticking with us on a Friday afternoon, if nothing else. We appreciate it.
Okay, and yeah, there are a couple of questions about the USBE credits. Remember that there's the two different options. There's the the training time, seat time credits, and then the USBE credits, which require additional documentation and additional work. All of those are found on Canvas. Right now, they're scheduled to be finished on the 15th of August, as far as having everything completed. If by chance you're going to be using these trainings for planning professional development at the beginning of the next school year, please let us know, and we can do a workaround, work on just seeing your plans, or some other things. Just let us know if that's the case for you. If you have changed your mind and you did sign up for just seat hour time, and you decide that you do want to get the USBE credit, also reach out to us, because we can open that up to you too. But yes, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jessica. This was great.
Jessica, it was great. Thank you so much. And thanks to all of you for your hard work. I mean, this was amazing today. So it's exciting.
It is exciting. Thanks for joining us.